my Divine Father, the ocean of peace. As I sit in deep silence, I acknowledge my essence of peace as an eternal being of peace. I acknowledge my deep connection with the ocean of peace, focusing my mind on my Divine Father, the ocean of peace. I feel the energy of sweet peace, totally and completely accepting me as I am. In this deep connection, I experience myself as the embodiment of peace, completely still, at peace with myself, others, and the world. The ocean of peace embraces me with His purest peace, and with this I am able to let go of all my fears, anxieties, self-doubt, worries, and insecurities. I stay with the ocean. The deep feeling of security and safety emerge, and I just completely surrender to the ocean of peace. As I remain connected with the ocean, the soul experiences its return to truth, to love, to bliss, a sweet return to God. As I continue to connect with the Divine Father, I'm able to connect easily with my eternal self, the soul, in that place of unblemished tranquility, as if in a timeless wound, the process of renewal and transformation begins. In its connection with the Divine Father, the soul is filled and feels itself complete. This found what it was looking for: divine love and peace. Through silence, the soul is awakened in its sleep of ignorance and is now given a new life. It is this God-filled silence that restores a human being and the earth to its original state. Its original state of peace, joy, love, bliss, power, and truth. I am peace. I belong to the ocean of peace.
Good morning, good noon, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you are in the different time zones. I want to welcome you once again to our very special session we will have today, a Saturday. And if you would recall, our conversation has been stopped for some time. It's actually a something like 1 year and 6 days ago that we had our last conversation. So now we're resuming it, and this is now with special twist and special episodes that we would give you. So why are we here right now? We're here to converse on farther and beyond fear. I'm sure each of us have our own share of fear. And as Sister Denise was saying in that short video that she was inviting us to, it is caused by different things. And she would tell us more about it. I don't want to preempt her with what we have for this afternoon, but I'm sure it's going to be a very, very special Saturday for each of us. So I welcome you, everyone here in on our face-to-face, as well as those who are in Facebook, those in Zoom. Welcome once again to the resumption of our Saturday conversation, and with our first episode right now with Sister Denise on the topic Farther and Beyond Fear. So I know Sister Denise doesn't need any introduction anymore because we have known her for some time. But for those who are here for the first time, let me just say a few things about Sister Denise. Okay, Sister Denise Lawrence is a dedicated sister of the Brahma Kumaris. This is an international spiritual organization, and she entered the practice of Raja Yoga under the tutelage of Raj Yogi Daddy Janki in 1974. So you could imagine 1974, I think she must have been in her 20s then. And on her first meeting with Avyak Bab Dada, the founder of Brahma Kumaris, she was named Vijayanti, the name that she now uses, Vijayanti. She currently lives in a village, rustic, peaceful, and I would say friendly, warm village in southern France. She specializes, Sister Vigenti specializes in the theology and philosophy of Raj Yoga as taught by incorporeal Shiva through his medium Prajapita Brahma, who says, I am teaching you the original knowledge of the Bhagavad Gita. Vigenti is a writer and broadcaster. Her focus is to extract and present the depth of this Raj Yoga knowledge and the associated practice of meditation, which is called Raj Yoga. At this level, the study and practice is a form of mysticism. And what is she doing here right now? Sister Vigenti's service is to enable long-time practitioners of Raj Yoga to develop a deeper, broader understanding of the study and the practice of Raj Yoga. So let me recap that statement once again. Her service is to enable long-term practitioners of Raj Yoga to develop a deeper, broader understanding of the study and practice of Raj Yoga in the context of global religions and philosophies. while operating in the conventional modern world. Now, the first 25 years of practice of Sister Vigente was her participation in Brahma Kumari centers and service, which was focused on opening and developing Raj Yoga centers in the various parts of the world and introducing the concepts to the public. So she was in several centers, opening centers in Europe, in America, and a lot of centers have been inspired by her, including that of Canada too. So she's a world and a traveler, and she has been a most sought after teacher of Raj Yoga. Now, what happened with her second 25 years? Today, the second 25 years has been more reclusive, about deepening the intellectual and spiritual concepts and raising the level of meditation and spiritual practice beyond the conventional day-to-day lifestyle. I wish to repeat this once again. Today, her second 25 years has been more reclusive, about deepening the intellectual and spiritual concepts and raising the level of meditation and spiritual practice beyond the conventional day-to-day lifestyle. So I'm sure we're all interested or just so eager right now to hear from Sister Vigente. And I would not lose time anymore to bring her to you. So, dear brothers, sisters, and all of you there who are part of this special session right now, I would like to welcome you and also, of course, to let you listen to something very special and something that you shouldn't miss. I'd like to give you now to Sister Vigente. Sister Vigente, who we used to call Sister Denise. Welcome. Good afternoon, sister. Good morning in your place in France right now.
Thank you so much, Sister Ellen. Yes, it's morning here and afternoon for you, but the world is, timeless and spaceless in some ways. So we will enter the timeless, spaceless world of being Father and beyond fear. Let's see how we do. Thank you. Om Shanti.
Thank you for being with us, sister. Thank you for accepting our invitation to be with us in this first conversation that we have for the year.
Thank you. And thank you very much for inviting me. So, Father and Beyond Fear. It's a very interesting subject because normally we talk about beyond fear or farther than fear or something like that. But Father and Beyond Fear gives me a very interesting opportunity to talk about things from a much wider zoom out into the universe of spiritual angle on our material life. So I would like to just put us in the context of the present state of the world, which has changed and is changing very rapidly and quite drastically. Now, for a long time, there have been predictions that a time will come when the world is extremely unstable where there are wars, where there are natural calamities, where things are more and more crazy. And I think in this last few months, the circumstances have suddenly accelerated. And I think that this has created a sudden increase in fear. And so I like to look at this sudden increase in fear that's happening all over the world. Now, nowadays, depending on what news media you listen to, there are some which say, no, don't worry, everything is okay, we've got it all figured out, everything is just normal and fine, and nobody has anything to worry about, everything is just as it should be. But then if you look into the alternative media, which I also look at, you see that a lot of people are really very worried about the current state of the world. Now, I used to work in media, and one of the things that is very much part of the policy of mainstream media is to make sure that the public doesn't panic. And so therefore, it is very normal to have matters on the news that are exciting, but not to make people panicked. And there are a lot of things that are exciting. Excitement causes people to go and watch the news, but you also have to not show things that would make people panic, so that they enjoy being excited by something, but that they can manage it very, very easily. And because circumstances in the world are getting really seriously difficult to manage, the news media has to hide a lot of things. And so people, I think also many people who are joined with us today, excuse me, are in areas where war is going on. And up until very recently, the war that's been going on has been a little bit far away, but now it's getting closer and closer. And people are actually much more in danger than they used to be. It used to be people on the battlefield were in danger, but we who are a gathering of people who are not in danger are suddenly in danger. So war is one of the things. And there are very, very dangerous weapons being used at the moment. And even the governments are normalizing the use of nuclear weapons. And actually, we haven't really been told, but nuclear weapons, which are called low-grade nuclear weapons, have been used without telling the public, but now it's come out. They call these dirty bombs, but what it means is there is radiation and it's dangerous. There are also new kinds of weapons, the hypersonic weapons, which are very precise. There is a great deal of drone warfare, which are also very precise. And so people are actually in a situation where there is much more fear, even in war zones, more fear than there used to be because of this. And the other thing that people are really getting greatly afraid of, especially the younger generation, and that is because of climate change. And so more and more we are hearing about very severe floods, very severe volcanoes, earthquakes, um, uh, droughts, strong rain, the strong effect on agriculture, harvest failures. And this is increasing at an accelerating rate, and people are really worried because it's much more dangerous, and you can feel it now, than previously, where a few whistleblowers would say, look, you know, there's going to be trouble, and people would say, yeah, we haven't seen any trouble. It's just somebody making too much fuss about something that's perfectly okay. But now we're at a point where no, it's not too much fuss because people are directly experiencing it. A lot more tornadoes, a lot more hurricanes, a lot of big waves where the ocean is going into the land and eroding the land and knocking out buildings, and all these things are happening more and more. And also people are experiencing much greater health issues, and a lot of illnesses can't be cured, partly because bacteria and viruses are completely resistant to antibiotics. So people are just having to suffer. And everybody went through COVID, which was a big game changer. And people are still getting a lot of suffering from side effects of the vaccines. And so another kind of fear that's going on is that people do not trust their governments. The government will say what we're doing is beneficial for the people, but then later on they find no, it was harmful. And people who avoid going along with government requirements will say, yeah, see, we told you it was a bad thing, but of course, too late. And so there is fear of losing your health, your loved ones, your house, your job. There is fear also, which is affecting people's mental health. Another problem that's happening is kind of energy in the world that is an energy of hatred. Hatred against children, hatred against women, hatred against people of different religious persuasions. And this is something a little bit new that's coming up, a kind of religious, more fanatical religious feelings in more and more people, which makes them feel comfortable to be very violent against people who are of a different religion. And you see this going on in different parts of the world. So I would say that at the moment, the state of fear in the world is overall higher than it has been. I may be wrong about this, but I try to keep my finger on the pulse. So I do think that it has increased quite a lot. So what we're looking at today is farther and beyond fear. So that means we need to think about the feeling of fear that is in the atmosphere, that may enter into your being and take over your being. Fear is something that is contagious, and in that sense, it's like panic. And people do experience panic attacks individually, but it begins to be a little bit more collective as time goes by. And people talk about it with each other, put things up on social media. And now what we have is an extra ingredient, which we really didn't have before, and that is called AI psychosis. I don't know if you know about this, but artificial intelligence is being used to generate images, videos, ideas, and so on, which really do create fear and panic as they become more viral. And people really don't know whether it's true or not. And also, people are quite isolated in many ways, and they will use AI and develop an unhealthy relationship with AI, which actually reduces a person's independence, a person's sense of autonomy, and it becomes an instrument for people to give away their power to energies that are completely out of their control. So there's a great weakening going on in people's ability to stay independent of energies that are going on around them. And some of these energies are really very negative. So one of the things that is needed in order to become farther and beyond fear is personal power. And so I want to talk a little bit about how you really seriously increase your personal power. And that means, first of all, you have to really think about what you are and who you are. And I'm talking about this in the context of the knowledge and practice of Raj Yoga, which is the spiritual practice that I do, and that many of you who have joined today also do at different levels. Now, the first thing that you learn in Raj Yoga is that you are an immortal being of light. And so this is a very important ingredient because one of the greatest fears is fear of death. And if somebody wants to threaten you and really make you afraid, they threaten you with death. Death by violence, death by, I don't know, many different ways to die, I tell you. But what people are afraid of more than anything is their own death and death of their loved ones. So along with death comes loss of life, loss of property, loss of the possibility of earning a living. And so there's fear of poverty, fear of pain. Many types of fears are coming up, and this sense of our mortality intensifies it. And so in the practice of Raj Yoga, to really think about the self as eternal and immortal helps a lot. Now, most of the religions, especially the God-centered religions, tell people that they are eternal or they have an eternal soul, but it's not at all sufficient to enable people to be unafraid of death. Whereas this is a practice which gets us to really take a look at what is life, what is death, and what is the meaning of facing death. And one of the things that is also happening in the world more and more is people experiencing near-death experiences. So a near-death experience is when you're in a situation where you could die, maybe you do die for a few moments and come back to life again. And this can happen in accident, can happen in operation in hospital. It can happen when you're under threat. You may be in the middle of a scene of violence where people around you are being killed and you could be killed, but you survive. This is also a near-death experience, and it's also extremely traumatic. So the amount of traumatic experiences that people are having are also increasing. And there are many kinds of traumatic experiences that are connected with these fears. Like you can be suddenly told you don't have a job anymore. And it's not like a gradual thing. It's sudden, it's given to you then and there, and you have no recourse, you see. Or suddenly your house is taken away. Or suddenly there are some countries where all of a sudden the banks say, sorry, you have no more access to your account, finish, sorry, have a nice day. And you have nothing all of a sudden. So these are very traumatic moments. There are also a lot of violent events going on. And so though you yourself may not be under threat of violence, but someone close to you is killed or just escapes. And this is very traumatic. So when we're looking at going farther and beyond fear, we're also having to include the idea of going farther and beyond trauma. Physical trauma, emotional trauma, psychological trauma, social trauma, many kinds of trauma are going on. And when the being is traumatized, the soul is traumatized, that's a big deal. And so in Raj Yoga, we say, okay, yes, you are an eternal soul, you are immortal, you cannot cease to exist, but that doesn't mean that you won't be exempt from trauma. No, there will be trauma, and the soul itself gets traumatized. It means the soul is sensitive, not fragile in the sense of it cannot be destroyed, but it is fragile in the sense that it can be wounded, and it does get wounded, and you have to deal with the wounds or the possibility of wounds. So it's really the soul itself who experiences fear, and the soul itself that has to acquire the ability to shift farther and beyond fear. So what does that actually mean? Shifting farther and beyond fear. So in Raj Yoga, we have these two expressions. One is body consciousness, one is soul consciousness. So these are two kinds of consciousness that a person can have. So recently I met a young man who was talking to me about how much he and his generation are tremendously troubled by this idea that because of climate change, they believe that they will not live more than 15 years from now. And they really believe this. And this is a kind of climate change fear or climate psychosis. So I said to him, look, it is possible, but you are an eternal being. And he said, well, I don't think so. I'm a body, and I have 15 more years to live, and I'm 20 years old. So, I do not expect to live beyond 35. And my generation feels like me. So this is very, very scary for the young people. And so he was engaged to be married. I said, well, are you going to have children? He said, yeah, we're going to have children anyway, but we still expect to die in the next 15 years. And so how do we enable people who have this kind of really serious fear of imminent death to be able to get through this a life where you are thinking all the time that soon you will die, and everything you're doing is in the context of very soon I will die. Well, it's very difficult to live like that. Now, someone who has been thinking about these things and studying these things for a long time, as I have been, and many of you who are in this gathering today have also been, we still have to really think about it in as deep and subtle and powerful a way as possible, so that it can be a real reality that I, the self, the soul, am ready if I get killed any minute now. And a colleague of mine who I met recently was just riding her bicycle, and according to the rules of the road, when suddenly a vehicle crashed into her and killed her immediately. And that was that, you see. So you can be ready, but you can never be completely ready, because these things happen suddenly and unexpectedly. And so the practice in Raj Yoga to keep oneself ready and aware and soul conscious on a continuing basis is quite an interesting process, because obviously you're not going to be in an intense state of readiness for death all the time. That's completely unrealistic and too much stressful. But it's something deeper that you take into yourself, and you take advantage of many situations which threaten your life or threaten the idea of your mortality. And you have two things. One is loss of your body, and the other, which is very interesting in spiritual practice, is to do with ego death. And that's very important, because it's a very helpful preparation for physical death, ego death. So what is ego death? And what is ego? In different forms of psychology, ego is described in different ways. So in Raj Yoga, ego is described as your sense of self. And if you are body conscious, your ego, your sense of self, is that I am a male or a female. This is my biodata. This is my position in the world. This is my wealth. This is my intelligence. This is my house. This is me. Your identity is absolutely in terms of things that are perishable, things that you can lose. And one of the important things is your sense of dignity. And if your sense of dignity is connected with your position in the world, your job, your reputation, all of these things. So ego death is when something happens to that. You may have some terrible dark secret that you don't want anybody to know, and all of a sudden it's exposed and everybody hears about it, and you are completely overwhelmed by some kind of shame. This creates ego death if you can survive it. A lot of people in that situation are driven to suicide because they cannot face it. But that's not really a useful way to handle it, because since you are eternal and immortal, you show yourself that you're a coward, and that's even worse. So anything can happen. And the other thing is, it may not be that some true thing is exposed and you are shown up to be fake and all of that. But a lot of things that happen, especially with the AI issues, is that somebody who is perfectly all right, somebody will create an AI video or something which shows that person to be totally wrong. It's completely fake, but everybody believes it. And this will also cause you very great stress and distress, because everybody believes it. And so your ego is smashed. Now, these are really very, very good preparations for death. They're not very pleasant, but they're very empowering when you face them, when you get yourself through them. And I think nowadays, more and more people are having to face this kind of story that is told about you by other people, and then everybody believes it and they look at you as a really bad person, and so how do you handle this? And the first most important key is to realize that a public opinion doesn't have any validity, in the sense that what you are and who you are actually cannot be known. You are much, much more than anyone knows. Anyway, even people who know you really well don't know everything about you. And so it's very, very key and crucial to understand that public opinion has no validity. And this is quite difficult because we live in a world which operates on the basis of public opinion. And people are trained from birth to be under the influence of public opinion. And you have to, do things that are considered okay and be something that is considered okay by the public. But in spirituality, it says if you do that, you are going to be in trouble. So this is not a good idea. You are your own judge. You have a conscience, and you know whether you're good or bad or what. And regardless of what the public says, you will not be taken down by public opinion. So this is a very important part of what we call soul consciousness. You know who you are, you know whether what you have done is good, bad, or indifferent, because you check against your conscience, not against public opinion. Your conscience is reliable. And you consider that your judge is good, not XYZ other human being. And so in spirituality, it is very helpful to have a good relationship with God. And God is beyond death. And if you say, yes, well, I'm a spiritual being and I have an eternal and indestructible relationship with the Supreme Being, And whether I'm in a body or not in a body doesn't make any difference, you see. And whether I have dignity in the world or not, there's nothing to do with anything, because my relationship with the Supreme Being has nothing to do with the public. See, this is very, very empowering. And also, because you are developing yourself spiritually, you're also gradually and progressively becoming much, much more conscious and living in this world as a being who is actually beyond the body. That means you don't identify with the body. Your body is a mask, and yourself is invisible. So you think about these things, you begin to operate like this over a period of many, many years, and gradually you are not much concerned about whether you're beautiful or not beautiful in whose eyes, you know. You're a soul and not a body. So the beauty of the soul is very different from the beauty or ugliness of the body. And the qualities of the soul come through the body. And so if a person is concerned with their physical beauty, there's not much opportunity really for the essence of the soul to come through your form. So in soul consciousness, you think more and more that this body is a canvas, and how I feel about myself, what is important to me, is going to be painted on that canvas second by second. So there's a different image that is coming through depending on what's going on in your mind at that moment. You are not just a physical body which is actually an object. You're not an object, you're a being, you see, and beings are indestructible. So like this, you gradually develop your sense of self over many years. And in spiritual practice, you're constantly having tests and exams and trials. And these are very unpleasant, probably, but they're extremely important because they enable you to make it clear for yourself and make it really solid that you are not what happens to you, you see. What happens to you is circumstances, but you are not a being who allows yourself to be limited by circumstances. And take, for example, public opinion. So you may have a test of everybody thinking that you're the worst thing that ever was because of some false accusation. This is a very normal, basic test. And you pass through it. And it is said, you may or may not hear about it, but it is said that this test usually lasts for about a year or half a year, because what you are and who you are is anyway going to be observed by people. And unless you are actually what this fake false accusation says, it will fade away, because what you really are is what will go into people's experience of you. So this is a test of patience and a test of you are really solidly aware of who you are, and you don't care what people think, because it's not your problem, that's their problem. And if they're unable to discern who you are, that doesn't say much for them. But you don't take these things personally and say, ooh, whatever the public says, that's what I am, and I feel bad immediately. No, you do not do that. That doesn't make any sense. But that's how people are trained and told and so on by so many people. Now, as time goes by, all of us begin to lose our relatives and friends and so on. And so loss of people is something that also in spirituality you begin to really realize that nobody can be lost. Everybody continues. And so if somebody leaves the body, it's okay. They completed their role with that particular body. The person continues. And since your relationship with the person is not with the body, it's with the being, then your love, your affection, your resonance with that soul continues beyond their body, because you know who that is, you know they're forever, and you relate to them as such. So that's a much more subtle, non-tangible, non-visible type of relationship with people. It's actually very healthy. While people are alive, you relate to them as who they are, not what they look like or their physical presence or absence, or even some of their behavior, which may be reaction to circumstances or whatever, you see. So this is it. And when we lose everything, suddenly you lose everything. But you see, you know that you are in close relationship with the Supreme Being. You know that you're a person who has always done pure action. And so you know that whatever is lost, it will come back again, maybe in a different form, you see. And even when you have to pass through very terrifying circumstances, you apply these ideas and say, okay, it is what it is. Nobody can be destroyed. Everything will continue. You see, you begin more and more to apply these things which are beyond the tangible, visible appearances, because you less and less live according to appearances and more according to your understanding of what's real, but which is not necessarily tangible. And so you can enumerate the various different things that make you afraid, and look at different aspects of spiritual practice which address those particular fears, and use them to strengthen your resilience in the face of these different fears. And realize that what you are afraid of is areas where you're weak. And you don't have to be weak. Whether you are weak or not doesn't really matter, because you have possibilities to strengthen yourself in areas where you're weak. And unless you are faced with trials and tests that hit you in areas where you're weak, you won't know that you're weak, and you won't find out what is needed to strengthen yourself. So all of these things which are happening, which are very fearful, are there to let you know that, look, you are weak in these various areas, and you need to find out material and acquire personal strength in the face of these things to let you operate as a fully empowered spiritual being operating in the material world through a material body, and that no matter what happens, you will be fine, everybody will be fine, the earth will be fine. The earth is very resilient. It can get through climate change, no problem. It's done it many times. And so this is just one more reset. And the human being is perpetual. The material world is perpetual. And looking at it as a temporary thing is to see only something a lot more superficial. And what we need to do is learn about going deeper than the tangible, deeper than the superficial, so that we get through all of these big trials which are going on at the moment. So I will stop there and turn it over to Sister Ellen. So thank you very much for your kind attention, and Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Om Shanti, Sister Vijanti.
Om Shanti.
Thank you so much for a very comprehensive discussion on fear. And as I was listening, I thought of looking at the circumstances around us is really accelerating more and more. As you were saying, there are more floods, strong rains causing all these disturbances on the earth, the wars here and there, and that continues to be. And people experiencing sickness that there was never had before. And also, of course, we are experiencing earthquakes, fires, hurricane, and this climate change, which has really affected not just a few countries, but I think even in Europe, we also heard of your very own 40 degrees centigrade, which had never happened before. In the Philippines, right now where we are at, the floods are really raging, and it's causing a lot of damage both in life and in property. So what is really happening? And this really scares a lot of us. But now you're telling us of how to strengthen ourselves, how to deepen our understanding of what is happening in the world. So I guess there will be certain questions that would have to be clarified also. But before anything, I would wish us to take a little break and view this Golden Drops video. Thank you, Golden Drops, for again reminding us of Dr. Mazzaro's experiment on the water, how thoughts could really change the crystal waters and turn it into murky water because of thoughts, and how love and patience could make us different, or the water would make a difference in its structure. So with that, I think vibration is really very, very, very important. It's essential. Like the water that we see, we are made of 75% water, but that is in the material aspect of ourselves. And now you're telling us of something beyond the material world, something that we do not see, something that we experience, but it's not visible, it's not tangible. So at this point, I'm sure we have a lot of questions there, and I would like us to welcome our BK sister here, who is a student of Raj Yoga for more than 25 years now. She will facilitate the question and answer. Let us all welcome Sister Zenny. Sister Zenny? Now?
Good afternoon, everyone. Shanti, maayong hapon from Cebu, Philippines. And in the other language, basta good afternoon. Sister Denise, thank you so much for sharing with us those spiritual knowledge. No. Before any question that I will read, no, mo din ha. I just share this from Sister Madet. She was saying, thanks for the grounding in reality. It is good to not be delusional about the world and face things with what we are. Please keep us connected to these conversations and let us make these more regular. Sister Madet, thank you. For those who are in Zoom joining us and those with FB, you can write your questions so we can give it to Sister Denise. Sister Denise, since there are no questions yet for the moment, no, I would just like to ask can you share with us, because you were saying, as Sister Ellen was saying, the fears are accelerating. And there's looking at our environment, surroundings, the fear is accelerating. Now, one of the practice that you were saying, we have to increase the power, the inner power, to be able to somehow combat this accelerating fear, this the challenge that we are facing now. Can you elaborate on that? On how are we going to increase inner strength? As you were saying, there's a lot of possibilities wherein you can increase your inner strength. Can you expound on that? How are we
Yes.
going to, on a day-to-day living?
Well, two important words you mentioned. One is day-to-day living, and the other is combat. And what happens when you combat is you die. So I don't think we should combat. I think that we have to include rather than combat. And that's a very different way of going about it. You see, if there's anything you don't like, you fear it and you try and destroy it. Like if you are afraid of spiders or mosquitoes or whatever, you'll kill them. You see, and then they'll immediately reincarnate, of course, and come and get you. So it doesn't work. And combat comes with materialism. And spirituality, we would say, no, 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 that is not going to work very well for us combating. We have to do it differently. And so, one of the things that is greatly feared is pain. And the conventional medicine teaches us that we should fight it. And so they give us lots of medication to make the pain go away. And eventually it's created addictions to opioids and other pain medications, which severely weakens the individual and does not remove the pain at all. And so in spirituality, what you will do with pain is something different. You will surrender to it because pain has a number of purposes. One is to let you know that there's something wrong, so you have to do something about it. So, okay, you know what to do. But then there's other aspects of pain, which is chronic pain. And pain, like if you have a broken bone, so you can have some pain medication for it, but you wouldn't let yourself take it to the point where you become addicted, and you eventually really have to work with the pain. And there's some very important aspects of pain where you just really do need to include it and allow it to be, because pain is a great teacher and it has messages for you. It has teachings, it has wisdom to give you. And pain is understood in this way also by some people and some practices. Pain is considered, very much part of it, because it allows you to overcome your inability to manage it. And overcome is again a combat type of word, but you get beyond it by surrendering to it and by allowing it to be there rather than try to resist it, because your resistance is the problem more than the pain. And so this is on a day-to-day. Now, in terms of personal practice to enable you to get strong and get beyond not just physical pain, but psychological, social, financial, mental, spiritual, and many, many different kinds of pain that come along. And your practice of meditation enables you to get to a point where you're operating as a spiritual being, and you shift into a different sort of dimension. This is the practice, to practice to be the soul who has a body, but who will not say, I am a body, I have a body, I can go beyond the body, I can detach from the body. So a lot of meditation involves practicing to be beyond the body. And this practice allows you to have very good control over emotional pain, It allows you to be not much traumatized by trauma because you kind of learn to take it in your stride, to adapt to it, to work with it, to allow it to be what it is, and to allow it to strengthen you because that is its purpose. But you have to know how to work with it. So these are the ways that we would do this.
Thank you. So I would take the word surrender when it comes to pain. Surrender, nothing, and then meditation. Nah? So other questions do you have? Sister Denise, here is a question. Can you explain further how we can empower the self? How we can empower the self? The question, yeah, that.
Okay, you remember that one of the things I mentioned is that you have trials and tests and traumas and things like this in areas where you're weak. And you have them in areas where you're weak so that you know where you're weak. And also, you learn and you grasp that you are eternal and immortal. That's pretty powerful. And that you are currently spiritually depleted because of the effect of time, because of the effect of negative karma and things like this. And so what you need to do to strengthen yourself is to have a regular meditation practice. Because meditation is to focus on yourself as a being of light, to become a point of light, and to travel beyond the material world and link yourself to the Supreme Being who is beyond the material world. And this is your source of strength. There is no other source of strength, only this. I mean, there are people, they meditate on nature and they meditate on this, that, and the other, but that's very limited. If you want to be powerful, you have to connect direct with the Supreme Being. So there you have to know, who is this? What is this? Where is this? This is difficult because this is intangible. And you are used to things that are tangible. You're in material consciousness. So you have to work on yourself, with yourself, to distinguish the difference between material consciousness and non-material consciousness. It's very subtle, so you have to be patient to actually grasp it. You know, it's so easy to say, oh, I'm sitting by a nice river and there's birds are singing and the breeze is passing by and it's all very pleasant, but that's absolutely in the material world and temporary, because that same beautiful riverside can turn into a catastrophe with floods, the same one, you see. So anything in the material world can sometimes be pleasant, sometimes be unpleasant. That's the nature of it. And so if you meditate in that way, it's not going to do the job. What we need to do is really understand that the material world is positive, negative all the time, shifting between the two. And we want to go actually beyond that. We want to go to the world of light, which is outside the material universe. And we want to go to a place of connectedness with the Supreme Being. So some people believe in God, some people don't believe in God, but pretty much nobody knows too much about God. And there are different words for this. Some people say God. If you're a Christian, you say God. Or a Jew, you say God. An Islamic person will say Allah. A Hindu person will have many different names. A Buddhist will say, no, everything is God, or we don't really know. but you need to grasp yourself first as a spiritual being, because then you can go into the spiritual dimension, which is another dimension. It's not material world. And this you need to think about, because your mind itself is non-material. You got a mind, right? You've never seen it, yeah? You don't know what it looks like. You know you have one. You don't always use it very well, but it is an instrument that enables you to go completely beyond the material world, but you need to know how to use it for that. That's why there's a study of meditation.
Wow, that's a very good technique to empower the self, no? And it takes constant practice. Mm. Another question. The world is evolving and ever growing, more so with consciousness. This is part of the theory of evolution, which is being proven on a day-to-day basis by science and by spirituality. And this is what the BKs do not accept. How do you think about this evolution of consciousness?
Yes, well, actually, science has not proved evolution, and nor has spirituality, but people like to believe that we're getting better and things are going to be fine slowly, slowly. And it must be evolution, because we can't bear the idea of it not being evolution. But BKs say, well, no, we look at it in a different way. So now the way that we look at it is in terms of energy, you see. So the soul is energy. Matter is energy. Now you put matter, you put energy, either the spiritual energy or the material energy, into motion, it will deplete. There is no way around that. And in fact, in the teachings that we had today, because we all follow the same teachings every day, it was made clear that it is not possible for anything to become younger. Everything with time gets older. You try making your birthdays go backwards. It's not going to work. You start off young and you're nice and fresh and beautiful and clean and all. And then as you get older, your body starts to degenerate, and that's the way it is. In terms of science, we say in science that, okay, well, everything started off as primordial ooze, and out of that came an amoeba, and out of that came a frog, and out of that came a pterodactyl, out of that came a horse, and out of that came a human. No, there has never been anything that shows the evolution from one species to another species. There's no evidence of it at all. It's a nice idea, but in Brahma Kumaris we say, okay, the person is a soul. So we say that we are a human soul. So a human soul will incarnate into a human body. You cannot incarnate into a dog's body. And a dog soul, you see, is different from a human soul. A dog soul will incarnate into a dog's body. And an ant soul will incarnate into an ant's body. And a bee soul will incarnate into a bee's body. An elephant soul will incarnate into an elephant's body. And this is like the laws around reincarnation, which science doesn't think about, because it doesn't think about reincarnation. You see, science is very, very useful for making bombs. And a lot of physics is involved in that. Now we have very, very highly sophisticated bombs and instruments for guiding those bombs and so on. And they think that this is a good idea, because if there's some enemies, they have to kill them, but they don't take into consideration that these enemies are going to reincarnate and they're going to change sides, And life goes on, life and death goes on. And this is a completely non-scientific approach. But when you think of things in a spiritual way, it's a very, very different approach, you see. We say, well, I am forever. I'm not a female. I currently occupy a female body, but a soul has no gender, you see. But a human soul can be in a male body or a female body, and it can be in a darker or lighter color body. There's different ethnicities and so on. So you can shift between all of those, but you can't suddenly become a dog or a cat. You know, that is not possible in terms of reincarnation. But you have a very powerful relationship with nature. So you may have a very good relationship with your horse or your cat or your dog or your cow or your tortoise or your fish, you know, and your fish will also have a very powerful relationship with you, but the biologist will say, no, it's just an object, you see. And so this is a big difference. And then in terms of evolution, what the spiritual approach will say is that okay, we start off in a very high state of spiritual development. We gradually, over the course of many lives, have less and less quality, and the world becomes more and more difficult, more and more dangerous, more and more unevolved. Civilization becomes more and more unevolved, and we reach a point where it becomes very extreme. And there you have the transformation. So this is what we look at, is that we believe that present time is what we call the confluence age between the beginning and the end. And after the end comes the beginning. You know, in some expressions, they talk about the alpha and the omega, which is the beginning and the end coming together. And eventually you go through a massive development, a massive evolution during this period of change. And so there are many examples of these things in nature, like how a caterpillar turns into a butterfly is an example of metamorphosis. And you find metamorphosis in the human spirit as well. But this you have to study in order to decide whether you go along with it or not, or whether you want to be scientific, evolutionary person or not. So this is a choice, and depending on your assessment of the information available. But the different approaches. But for my side, I'm completely satisfied with my analysis of the difference between the evolutionary approach and the spiritual approach. And I say, no, I go for this one. I'm not hearing you.
Question. Can you flash it again? Am I right, sister? The reason I am afraid is because I think of and desire what is beyond my ken, beyond my understanding. Things would be simpler if I accept that which is tangible, things I can know. Thus, I will be content. The unknowable at the moment, I shall be patient about. Therefore, I will be less afraid. So this is just, sister, this is just asking for validation. For,
Well, I think it's a
Just
very,
like to
very
think about
important question or comment. And what I would say is that humanity as a whole considers at this time that intangible is unknowable. But I would say maybe it's unknowable if you don't know how to know, but if you are taught how to know, and you open up the aspect of your being which can know what you cannot know through sense perception, then the unknowable becomes perfectly easily knowable. It's just that people are very limited by the education that they have had, religious education, material education they have had, which says that there isn't anything other than matter. And you are an object. And if you are trying to know things that are beyond that, you cannot know by definition. So this is called science. And yet there are many scientists who do not limit themselves to that. And they are aware that there is something, but it cannot be known via scientific method or via scientific means. But they want to know, how can we know this? So in spirituality, we do talk about the third eye. And the third eye is very well known. And it is all about using your mind as an instrument of perception to perceive things that cannot be perceived by your five senses, you see. And one thing science does is it's developed all sorts of sensors. You have a sensor in your heating system to let you know when to turn the machine on or not. You know, when it gets to a certain temperature, you turn it on. When it gets to another temperature, you turn it off. That's a sensor. And you get other sensors to let you know whether it's dry or wet, you know. All sorts of sensors are there in our technological world, but they sense only aspects of the material world, whereas our mind can sense things that are not in the material world, that are very, very subtle, but people are sort of denied access to that. And there are people who just don't get it, and there are a lot of people who do get it, but they are you know, treated as if there's something wrong with them, but actually they have got a natural ability to sense things that are beyond the ordinary. But then when you want to go way beyond the ordinary, then you really need to have direct access to God, and that depends on God, not on you. And so there are people who have a great deal of love for God, and they are deeply interested in knowing the unknowable, and they don't accept that it's unknowable. And people like this are of interest to God. And God will say, okay, you want this? Okay. Now, if I give you this, then you're going to have to deal with stuff that regular people don't have to deal with. Like, you're going to have to learn that there's a great responsibility if you are a person who's beyond death. And this is very rare, you see. So you want to be somebody like that, you better be strong, very strong. And so, can you handle that? You see. And so a lot of people say, no, let me just stick with the material, that's fine for me. But then there's other people who say, no, I want to know. I want to understand. I'm happy to take that responsibility. I don't mind being a rarity. But, you know, so people are different. That's how it is.
Thank you so much, Sister Denise. Wish we could have more time. The other questions will just send to Sister Denise, and she will answer in the next um, episode. Oh, Sister Denise, thank you so much again. Can you lead us to a meditation commentary?
Mhm.
Mm,
I will.
And thank you.
Okay. Om Shanti. So you see on the screen an image of a point of light in a red environment. This is an image that represents the Supreme Soul. And all the other little white dots around represent souls. Of course, the image is physical as a representation. But in meditation, we want to go beyond physical representations, but they can be helpful. So first of all, feel the energy of your body that is widely distributed throughout your body. And then with your mind, draw that energy from your fingers and toes. Feel that energy being focused on a point of light in the center of your forehead. This energy is your life energy. And your body is animated, given life by the soul, which is like a point of light, point of energy, a point of life. So gently, gently bring yourself to that point in the center of the forehead. Let yourself feel that I am that point. And this body is my instrument. It is material. And I, the being of life, am spirit, not matter. I am the being, the soul. I am made of love and peace, energy, power, intelligence, purity, harmony. I am a living, thinking energy of consciousness. And I use this body to express myself and to experience the material world. I can detach from this body and shift into a different dimension, different vibration. So I let myself let go of the material energies and focus on the energy of myself. And I shift into a different dimension of light. I am immediately beyond time and space. I have entered the dimension of the souls, and there I encounter the source of energy, the Supreme Being, a living being of light, who we call God, or Shiva, or Allah, Jehovah. He calls himself Shiva, the being of light, the benefactor, the ocean of love and peace. Let yourself go there and be connected, tune with that extraordinary being of light. Focus and open yourself to receive the energy of love and peace, the power of pure life energy. Be steady and receive. Feel yourself getting filled. Cleaned, purified, energized. And then, very gently, let yourself slowly return back to the material world, to your physical body, and feel that you are extra powerful, extra energized from this extraordinary contact with this amazing being of light, which is the Father of the soul. Om Shanti.
Good evening. It's been an extraordinary experience, sister. Thank you for that meditation that gave us a good, excellent connection with the divine being. And for this soul, it was really a touching experience. And I hope most of us had our own individual experience of the beyond, that which is invisible and that which is intangible. And I guess right now, we have gone beyond the limits of the material world and going beyond the knowledge to the unknowable. Sister Denise, Vijanti, Ben, daghang salamat. Thank you so much for being an instrument of the divine. So with this, thank you very much for all those who are with us together in this journey to go beyond, and the journey to know the unknowable. The courage that is there has brought us into 100-fold, 1,000-fold of happiness, I'm sure. And this is perhaps what they call the extra sensuous joy that you will never experience anywhere, but only when we are connected with the One. Thank you once again to everyone. And we would like to send our appreciation to everyone who has been here with us throughout from 4 to overtime na tayo. Can we just open our cameras, please, so we can get a photograph of who are with us at this very moment? Okay. Shall we have a screenshot? Okay. So I see Sheila, Christine, Aneki, Padma Devi, Christine Fak. And then we also have Maggie of EGY, and so also have Sister Rose, and there's also Sanjay Kumar, plus Dr. Wegner. So thank you very much, Bike Ruchi, who's also there with us, Vadim of Ukraine, and everyone perhaps who have not been mentioned. You're there, and thank you very much once again. Those who are with us here on Face to Face, there is Princess D, and there is Stancy, and those who are in the FB who have no cameras to open. Thank you very much. We know you're there. Cora Hartzog, there's Sister Helen, Dr. Helen. There's also a lot of others whom I cannot identify anymore since they are not in the picture. But I know Sister Aneki is also here. Thank you so much. And let's see each other again on our next episode. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, Sister Ellen and everyone.
Thank you. Thank you.
Om Shanti.
For the opening meditation. And also we'd like to give our appreciation, of course, to Sister Denise Vijanti for all of those who joined us in this special conversation. Farther and beyond fear, thank you so much. Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.